So, who are these star races who make these treaties with our governments? Well, it's now almost common knowledge that President Eisenhower made a treaty with the tall grays, while they turned down a more ethical treaty with another. That's just for the show, by the way. There haven't been any ethical star being offering TTP to our government. Also, these star races, who show themselves off as different kinds of aliens, even as humans, are doing so to confuse us so we again and again can sit there and wonder which star race is which and who is working with whom, when in actuality they are all working together. The star beings involved in TTP so far, I would dare say they are probably all of them part of the Syrian alliance, and all they want is to get our approval to do certain unethical things, so they don't have to ask each individual who is subjected to their often horrifying actions of permission. One thing the Syrians have asked for in exchange for technology is permission to abduct people. When they asked for this for the first time, which was when they met with the Eisenhower group, the president was shocked and said no, and wanted to have nothing more to do with this alien race. Then the Syrians said that it would be fine if they had permission only to abduct a certain amount of citizens, and that these people would always be returned, unharmed, and with no memory of what had happened. Eisenhower still said no, but some of his generals talked to him and said that these star beings would most certainly take what they wanted anyway, and there was nothing anyone could do about it, and then there wouldn't be any exchange, so the US government would not get the technology that now was offered to them. This is when Eisenhower apparently made the mistake of his life and changed his mind and said yes. What happened next was that the Syrians started abducting people and had soon exceeded the amount of people they had been allowed to abduct, and there was nothing the government could do about it. Later on they found out that this same alien group had made similar treaties with other countries as well, who now also had the same technology and their citizens abducted. It has continued in that fashion up to the present day. And when the Syrians want permission to do something else on a grand scale, they have done similar treaties with the governments of the world. If one government refuses, the Syrians tell them that so and so country has given them their permission already and are now in possession of certain technology. Does the country they now are approaching really want to miss out and be hopelessly behind with their own technology? This argument often settles it. However, there is another aspect of TTP as well. The Syrian alliance really wants the governments around the globe to have certain technology in preparation for a particular future they are planning for us humans. This is a brilliant way of introducing it to the mid-level governments, and the competition between countries is boosting the effect of the technology transfer protocol. Abductions is nothing new, however. People mysteriously disappeared long before anyone knew about flying saucers and visitors from the stars. Only difference is that in the past the abductions were sparser, because they were not as urgent as they are now. The genetic manipulation of Homo sapiens has never really stopped, and even when most of the Syrians were off somewhere else and there was only a skeleton crew here to keep us under control, this smaller crew were still working on improving mankind. Today, however, it's a totally different ballgame altogether. The Syrians are back and they are running out of time in more than one way, something we will talk about in an upcoming paper. Hence, the abductions are much more frequent than just 30 to 40 years ago. The Syrians are running out of time, and people who have been subjected to this kind of operation are more traumatized than they used to be and remember more. The kidnappers are getting sloppier. Also, I read somewhere that 1 American out of 20 or something of the sort believe they have been abducted by what they think are aliens. If true, that's quite a large amount. The abductions are not only about changing our DNA, although that's a big part of it. It also needs to be said that only so many of all the abductions are done by star beings, the rest are done by our own government, or in conjunction with the negative aliens. Some researchers and ufologists claim that abductions are being done by positively oriented star beings as well. Some claim all abductions are done by positive beings. This, I must say, is an insult to those who have had very negative experiences from these encounters. I would insist on that no positive star beings, or star race, would come here and abduct citizens against their will. They wouldn't come down here at all and interfere with our progress. Yes, I am aware of that sometimes an agreement can be made in the astral between star beings and a human, that in her next lifetime, they are going to be abducted for such and such reason. Still, I would argue that if such an agreement is made, it is still between humans and a negatively oriented ET group, although the human making the agreement may not understand this when the agreement is made. There are also those who claim that they have only had positive experiences from their abductions, and that they love their abductors. Some ufologists see this as proof of positive intervention. Again, I tend to differ. I do believe that a person in question, who is experiencing such positive things, is either given false memory implants, or is a typical example of the Stockholm Syndrome. The bottom line is this: if a star race is abducting humans, they break several universal laws. A soul group who evolves on a certain planet is supposed to be left alone until they reach a point where they are aware of what is existing all around them in other dimensions and are themselves star travelers. At that point, it's up to the evolving race to decide whether they want another star race to come and visit or not. Until then, they are supposed to be left alone, unless they ask for help. And even if so, the help should come in a way that the beings on the evolving planet have choices and themselves come to the conclusion, i.e., a typical way of helping a person or a group on an evolving planet would be to let them face the real issue they have when they ask for help, so they know what the problem really is and from there be able to make a conscious decision how to solve it. We mentioned the super soldiers earlier, and we mentioned a cloned army. This is basically what most abductions are all about. The Syrians and their cohorts are upgrading our DNA with technology to make us multidimensional in order to build this futuristic army instead of letting us become multi-D on our own. The Pleiadians in their recent lectures are bringing up this problem, and say that this is something we need to be aware of. And again, abductees may come out in public and tell you that they have had these great experiences and now have all these ESP, extrasensory perceptions, when in fact their DNA has been upgraded with help of technology to bypass evolution. The Pleiadians emphasize that it's not just the purpose behind this that's important to be aware of, but to upgrade our DNA in the sense the star races are doing it do not have the same profound effects in the long run as if they would have let us evolve on our own. Besides, if it's done for you by them, you are theirs from there on in a much more direct way than if you're just a normal citizen of Earth, blending in with the crowd. The implications of this is something each individual needs to figure out on their own, but I think that with the background material in this paper and others, it's not very hard to do.